Well, let's get started. Welcome back,
Yeah, dude.
everyone, to another episode of the Far Left Lane podcast. Um, Last week was interesting. We got we're at 20 subscribers now. Not sure if you saw
Heck
that.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I want to give you a lot of credit because like you definitely grew the channel in 1 week more than we have collectively in the past six
Well,
months.
it's our
With your
content together,
idea,
though.
no, but I'm saying the idea for doing the clips and stuff, like grow the channel with like people arguing in the comment section. Great idea, dude. I mean, literally, we got probably 30% growth in 1 week because of your good idea. So you're a great partner. Yeah.
Thank you. Um,
The only thing that sucks is the Biden video got
I'm gonna
completely.
delete. Okay, so for our listeners, I don't know where you stand if you're pro Trump or pro Biden, but we're not fans of either of them. But we try
Right.
to make a pros and cons of things that we like, just break it down by policy. And
Mhm.
we made multiple videos, and mostly the Trump supporters were the ones commenting. I think that does say a
Yeah,
lot about probably
it,
about Biden. Maybe people aren't
it's excited.
excited.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think interestingly enough, this was almost our own polling exercise, and I think I've learned a lot about the different bases, but
yeah.
also about the truth about anti-Biden talk in big tech. There are
Should
two
be some
court cases
censorship.
about this,
Yeah,
so it makes sense. I'm not actually surprised, but it is weird that
yeah.
it happened that way.
If it happens, okay. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to delete the short I made about
Mhm.
the cons or the negative things we don't like about Biden, because that for some reason all the other views got hundreds, some in the thousands, but
Lots of
that
engagement.
yeah.
That video got suppressed hardcore.
And one of those
Pretty.
views, one of the two views that are for that are from me.
Mhm.
I was
Right.
just testing
Yeah.
it. I was making sure I tried it on a with a VPN. I was like, I'm gonna pull this video up and just see if it's actually airing. And sure enough, if you
Right.
search for it, it'll come up. But for some reason, it was not probably on suggested feeds, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. There's two ongoing. One is a Supreme Court case, the Murty versus Missouri case, about the Biden administration colluding with big tech to suppress undesirable, or they call it like malinformation. It's not wrong. It's just sort of like it doesn't help their movement.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff has been suppressed, and I think we saw case in point. There's some truth to it.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
at first I was thinking it's Friday. That's when I uploaded it. Maybe that day's like it's hard to compete with other YouTubers on that day. But I mean,
mhm,
Saturday's probably a big day too, I would think.
right.
And that video's doing normal. The one about the cons of Trump.
Yeah, that was going to be a really interesting short for us to really see how the analytics work. Because if we had two in a row that kind of tanked, it'd be like, oh, it's more our channel, not the content of the video. So I think that's very indicative of what's going on behind the scenes with the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Kind of something I want to add to the list. More reasons I don't like Biden. Hey, now this video is not going to get anything. Damn, dude.
Maybe if we don't title it that, it'll be fine. That might be
Maybe
another
if you
thing I
title
might
it the
experience.
opposite. Things we kind of sort of
I'll just
don't.
make it vague. I'll be like Biden thoughts. That's all we'll say.
Yeah. Thinking out loud on Biden. Keep it very vague, and then because like we've experienced the closed captioning on our videos, the transcripts, they're very accurate. They come out immediately, right?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of things get flagged when you say things that are sort of against the current administration. So
Yeah.
we need to be sneaky with our titling, but also I think we did a good exercise. We did it very fair and balanced. We just didn't get a fair shot with that
Yeah.
video.
And
It
final
sucks.
thought on those clips. I think it'd be fun maybe to do like replies to the comments where we like do a video reply when we're
Yeah, I
and
think that's a
just
good idea because
we'll pull up a screenshot of the comment and just reply to him basically.
that's a good idea because a lot of people I think they're seeing the shorts, but they're not really checking out the channel, so they don't know what we're actually trying to accomplish there.
Yeah.
With like pros cons on each presidential candidate. They're sitting and being like, oh, so you're Trump supporters, or oh, you're Biden supporters. They're getting a
We're
snapshot.
soy boys.
Soy boys,
And I quote.
apparently. Yeah, we could do a whole video on that, breaking down what the hell's a soy boy and how are we soy boys for our thoughts. I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
good idea, dude. Let's continue to do the shorts because it's been very good for the channel. I like your hustle a lot. Much love, dude.
Well, let's get started with political news.
Okay.
If you're down with that,
Oh yeah,
let's talk
always.
about Biden.
Okay.
So he had his Ron Burgundy moment where he was reading off a teleprompter and he read the words pause. I I was thinking about this. Do we know what he was like, what it looked like for him? Did like if I wonder sometimes if they have like little asterisks or something like across the word pause where it's like it's obvious that you're not
Um,
supposed to read it, or maybe
I
it's
mean,
all in caps.
I've I've seen some transcripts before.
Hmm.
Um, and usually it's in all caps in brackets. It's very obvious what
Yeah, that's
the
what.
director notes are, you know? And also this guy, Joe Biden, he's trained on a teleprompter. He knows what's up. So
Right.
that little slip up, it's pretty damaging to him because it
Yeah.
does make him seem like he's on autopilot, just saying whatever they tell him to say. Pretty bad moment. I know it's a small moment. It's a little bit of a verbal typo,
Right.
but it's very like it shows you something about what's going on behind the scenes for sure.
Yeah, and I
Pretty embarrassing.
the more I thought about it, I was thinking it's probably likely that the Biden administration would be like, "Oh, there was a problem on the teleprompter. We didn't
Right.
do what you
Yeah.
said. We didn't put it in caps and put it brackets around it."
Right.
I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I was like, I wonder what it looked like for him, but it most likely, I'm sure, just
That's one thing he's still very good at. He still knows how to go out there, read a teleprompter, go back and forth between two different teleprompters, kind of go in the middle, make it seem natural. He's still good at that.
yeah,
So him fucking up there, that says something, you know?
yeah,
It's a small mistake, but hey, he's an old man and he's doing the best he can.
yeah. It doesn't look good though. That's for sure.
Does not look good. It's pretty bad. It's one of those things that I think you go into damage control and you say, all right, let's get him on Howard Stern. Let's have an hour and a half or an hour 15, I think it was. Kind of really softball interview to
Oh
sort of
yeah.
do some damage control.
Let's
Yeah,
talk about that
so
next, the Howard Stern thing, because I actually did not watch it, but I did hear clips of it. Um,
mhm.
some of it sounded like it was like kind of like a fluff piece for Biden, where he's like, "You did
It
all this."
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. It was I mean, the way I heard it, I was like the White House called Howard, Stern. They said, we need a good hour long interview, a long form interview with the president,
right.
So here's what we'll talk about. We'll mostly go over things he's discussed in his books. I read that last book and I talked about it on the after show.
Hmm.
It was a lot of talking points about that. The
Right.
most important moment was when he said, I'd be happy to debate Trump.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a huge deal, dude.
yes.
Like,
I was happy to
because
hear that. We
I
need
mean,
a
I hope
debate.
that it's a proper primary debate with RFK Jr. also because I feel like that's fair. But also, I know that they're probably both terrified of going up against him. Um, more so Biden than Trump. But
Well, I
yeah,
wonder too how. So like usually they consider presidential debates by the polling. Like if you have to be at a certain
mhm,
percentage. I don't know
right.
what network they'll be on for a debate, but what the criteria would be. But it seems like they're all just kind of throwing it out. Yeah, I'd debate him. It's like that
Yeah.
should be scheduled. We should have like a plan for this by now.
It should not even be like something that we're like, you know what? That is a good idea. It's just it's part of
I think it
the
should.
path to the
I think it should be
presidency.
required.
Yeah, I agree. It's part of the job is you need to go up and speak in front of people on a public platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy that they've actually tried to consider, dodging it. But I'm glad that he said that. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if he said that and people off screen are like, "No, Joe." His handlers are freaking out. I'm wondering if that's what happened. But no, I'm glad he said that. I'm glad he
Yeah.
committed.
Me too.
Um, yeah, I'm super curious. I saw Donald Trump. He was in court that day, and he said, "All right, let's do it tonight."
I I
He's like,
saw it meet
"Let's
me at
do
the
it
courthouse
right
or
now."
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so funny. I know that's never gonna happen, but he's just making a point. He's like, "I don't want you to be prepared. I don't want you to have some canned statements. Let's just speak like men about why we want to change, how we want to better the country." Um, yeah. So crazy. But no, I would say that is definitely a very historic interview for that one moment of him saying, I'd be happy to debate Trump. Very important moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any other political news you want to?
Yeah, let me scroll down. I had a couple things.
Okay.
So recently, okay, we've seen a bunch of clips of Joe Biden walking to Marine One, the helicopter. It's
Hmm.
a pretty much normal thing. Every day he goes out, he goes somewhere. He's usually walking alone, right?
Right.
Recently, his advisors said, we think it's a bad look watching you shuffle across the lawn by yourself. You need to be with a group because it's sort of like it's putting more eyes on his age, the way he's sort of like the stiff shuffle to the helicopter.
Hmm.
So now the new thing, his new walk to Marine One, they just changed it after 3 years. He's walking with like a group of like six dudes where he's very insulated, you know?
Okay.
So it's not all the focus is on the elderly old man getting on the helicopter. It's now on like this group of guys walking with their briefcases and stuff. I think that's a very interesting move because they're trying to like not make him look like an old man now.
Right.
But like I said in a previous episode, why have you been setting him up to fail like multiple times when he's getting on Air Force One, walking up and down stairs and stuff? Why aren't you protecting him more? Like
Yeah.
there should be like I feel like more moves to be like, no, he still has the vigor, he still has the energy that he talks about. He does his little skip every now and then when he's trying to hustle. But it's like for some reason just now, what are we 6 months away from less than 6 months from the election?
Hmm.
Now they're like, you know what? How can we protect his image? That's why I feel like there's a bit of like behind the scenes sort of like sabotage,
Yeah. Do you think
They
Biden is capable of doing like one of those little heel clap things where people jump up and then they like clap their, I don't
no.
know what that's called. There's
No,
got to
no.
be, what if he could do
Like a
that?
leprechaun click, he cannot do that.
That would
No.
that would that would
Um
uh that would be a good look for him though. Be like, "Oh, he still got it." If he could do it.
no, dude,
He
that
might
would
break his
he'd
he might
break
break
he
his
would break
bones
a
before
hip
he
for
yeah,
sure, or
before
or
he
snap
starts.
his ankle. Something bad would happen. Yeah, I don't think he can do that. I don't think he has any physicality anymore. But I did think it was weird that just now they're like, you know what? Let's rethink like kind of the optics of how he moves around, how he gets
Yeah.
from place to place. Just now they're like, you know what? Let's change that look. It's a bad look.
Yeah, it is kind of late to have that.
It's a
It's
you can't
lack of
change the narrative
foresight.
at this point,
Yeah.
right? It's such a odd thing. Um, Kevin, actually, before we get away from politics, I want to say something very important. Um, so last week we're talking about January 6th, and I said something extremely wrong, and I feel very bad. This is like not like a verbal typo like Ben Carson, Ben Shapiro.
Hmm.
I'm getting something wrong that's like embarrassing for me and gross. So we talked about the police officer Brian Sicknick, the one that I think we said this is the guy that the police officer or law enforcement officer that died on January 6th after he was hit with like some chemical irritant, like an aerosolized chemical irritant,
Hmm.
and then he was the guy that had the seizure. And I think you said I think he passed away, and I said no, you didn't. He did. It wasn't on January 6th, but yeah, the next day he did. Suffered two seizures in a row, and then he died of natural causes, which they say. Which I'm just like, that's bizarre coincidence,
Yeah.
The day after this, where he's basically assaulted with this like, I don't know, unknown chemical aerosolized irritant, and then he goes home the next day. He's like, well, that fucking sucked yesterday, and then he has two strokes and dies. I feel so bad for saying that, like getting that wrong to the Sicknick family. I'm like, I know they're not listening to our little podcast, but let's say they were. Let's say we had a bigger platform or we had more audience and they tuned in. And they're like, no, 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 my son or my husband did die that way. Like, I
Yeah.
feel very bad for getting that wrong. But yeah, to be clear, he didn't die on January 6th, but he did have two strokes and he passed away from natural causes, which I call bullshit on. Just saying, I want to get that right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt bad last week. Yeah. Very important. Otherwise,
I don't
I
know if it
should
counts
not
as
be
political
speaking on
news,
microphone.
but I do have one other thing I was going to bring up, and I just remembered. Um, did you hear
Okay.
about that FTC ruling for non-compete agreements?
No. Tell
They
me about it.
so yeah, basically they're banning those for everyone in the United States. I think it doesn't take effect though until next year. Um, actually, I think this is a good move though, because usually when you think of a non-compete, you think of like I guess well-paying jobs, right? That would enforce that. But I've
Mhm.
actually seen here in Alabama, Jesse got a job with this real estate place, and it was like an entry level job. Like most of the workers there, I think, start around like 12
For
bucks an
the
hour.
listener or viewer, Jesse is Kevin's wife.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah, so they like this company does not pay their employees very much, but they make every single
Mhm.
person sign a non-compete agreement.
Okay.
So they're not
Weird.
allowed to work for any other real estate company.
Wow.
It's isn't that bizarre? Apparently, yeah, it's like 1 in 5 workers have to sign a
So
non-compete.
it's like it's a non-compete clause without a contract? I'm
Yeah,
confused.
in
Like no
order to
con
work there, you sign a non-compete, and basically it makes it so that these employees, like the employer has so much leverage over you because
Yeah, that
you
sucks,
can't
dude.
find another job. So I was actually really happy to hear that they're getting rid of that. Like employers are no longer allowed to enforce that.
That seems super unfair. I mean, I would understand it with a contract job where you have some kind of like something that's like promised to you, but
Yeah.
if it's just like that's crazy. I didn't
Yeah.
know that was a thing actually.
Yeah, but so it's going to apply to people that are making minimum wage to all the way to CEOs, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to
That's a good
bring that
thing.
up. Yeah,
Yeah, I like
something
that. I didn't
positive.
know that. Let's see. I don't think I have anything else. I mean, I have a couple things that are sort of political in the sense that they're about war. I'll say this one quickly. In a flippant way, I will say this is kind of funny because no one was hurt, no one died. Okay,
Hmm.
something in Gaza happened that we can laugh about. Okay, so we're giving billions of dollars to support Israel, and then I guess we felt kind of bad because we're not giving enough aid to the Palestinians, right?
Hmm.
So the military is building this big floating pier next to Gaza that'll be an easy way to get aid to them quickly, right?
Okay.
Well, while the military is building this thing, someone attacks us. At first, you're like, wait, no, Israel, we're on the same team. You can't attack while I think it might be like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers building this big floating dock,
Hmm.
or maybe it's the military. But it was attacked with like a mortar shell bomb attack while they're trying to build this thing for aid for Gaza.
Who do they
And
think
then like
shot it? Or
no one
no
is
one
claiming
knows.
responsibility, but if it's from either side, it's still kind of funny because you're doing aid for one and you're just doing like funding more like Iron Dome protection and more, it's
Yeah.
so funny to think of either side being like, no, you're overstepping your bounds. It could be Hamas being like, we don't want US military soldiers in our space, right? But still they're supporting the civilians. So it's
Yeah.
like either side, it makes no fucking sense.
Hmm.
But that is the thing that just happened. And I'm like, okay, are we going to continue to build this thing? Or maybe we should like choose a side, not fund both sides, because that's pretty evil and
Yeah.
weird. Um, I
Very
don't know.
strange. Hmm.
So I'm gonna pay attention to the Gaza pier and see if it actually gets constructed. I don't think it will. I think it's gonna get bombed before it does, um, which is confusing. But yeah, no one's claiming responsibility. It's just sort of a fucked up thing that's happening. Uh, yeah, that's kind of the only thing I had
Okay. Well,
left. That's sort of political.
all right. Well, we can segue into space news.
Heck yeah, dude.
Voyager 1
Uh,
is officially back up and running.
I'll cheers to that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, Voyager 1.
Cheers.
I thought Voyager 1 was dead, dude.
I thought it was a goner. Yeah, so apparently NASA engineers had to recode part of that flight data subsystem we talked about a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
or over a month ago. So it wouldn't use some of the corrupted memory that I guess 3% of the memory on it is corrupted. So them
Right.
shuffling around the code allowed it to send back stuff that they can actually understand. So yeah, that's great news.
I'm such a dummy about this, but I do kind of recall it was something like there's so much junk code that was cached that it was sort of like they needed to like clear it out to make it work. Is
From
it
what I
is
read, they had to recode. They had to like they basically like shuffled the code into different sections so that it wouldn't use. That was my
okay.
understanding, and it's I read a couple different articles where some of them explained it better, like Wired, and others kind of
Mhm.
kept it high level, but um, They did some magic. I'm surprised that they were able to do that.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Decades and decades of data,
Yeah.
from that thing. It's wild. It still works. It's one of our probably most successful space programs.
Yeah. So
Very
hopefully,
cool.
hopefully it'll last another 5 to 6 years whenever that the it loses power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about Sierra Space in the past. It's a
Yes.
Colorado-based company that's doing a lot of really interesting stuff. Good partnerships. They have a new program called the Ghost spacecraft, which
Yeah.
can they're saying very soon we'll be able to get very necessary things to any part of the world in 90 minutes.
Wow.
So the way it works is they have these capsules that have different things like actually let me look at my notes so I don't say this wrong. But no, let me actually go off memory and then I'll correct myself. So they have these capsules that are able to be like sustained in orbit for 5 years.
Hmm.
And they'll have a bunch of these things. They look sort of like upside down umbrellas, interestingly. The way they have this like thermal shield where they shoot down. They have a special decelerator that
Hmm.
gets it to like, land safely and not destroy the material inside. But they did say anywhere in the world we can get critical stuff to you in 90 minutes. Let me read the stuff that it said. Okay. So we're talking military support, disaster relief, global logistics, survival gear, inflatable boats, rations, weaponry, basically anything you need. And
Hmm.
we'll have an array of these things, sort of like Skylink, if you think of that, like a bunch of these in different places where you need critical supplies quickly in an hour and a half. They can
So,
shoot that shit down to Earth. Pretty
so,
cool.
so is it already orbiting in Earth, or are we shooting the stuff into space of what we need, and then
We're
it's
shooting
gonna
we're shooting these little capsules
that already
into
have it?
space that can be no, this is a new program. They just proved that it works,
Yeah, I
right?
guess
So
I
it's
guess what I was
something
trying to figure out is so like are they we just have supplies up in space that just stay up there until we need it? Is that the plan?
for five
For
years.
5 years.
That's the
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, I was
Five
trying to
years.
see if it was something where it's like, oh, like some military base needs something. We then launch it into space and then it's in orbit.
No, 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 no,
Yeah, I got
no,
you.
no. We get this stuff up there, almost like we have little bodegas in space or little, like caches that are like going to supply us with the things we need. Remember that company we talked about that's making HIV drugs in space? Still never figured
Right.
their shit out. But it's like that. It's like if they
Similar to
could
that.
get stuff down quickly, this is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
It's like a DoorDash from space,
Yeah.
but for those things I described. Very cool. I mean, that could save lives, really, you know?
My question to you kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you remember, who was it? There was a late night um, show host, and they had Uber Eats CEO or Uber CEO on there, and that he's
Uh,
explaining Uber Eats, and he's like, you just press a button and you get a sandwich delivered to your house. He's like, well, are they making the sandwich in the car? Like that's that's what he's asking. He's like, no, you just press a button. He's like, well, I get that, but like, are you getting the food for me and bringing it, or like that? I was trying to figure out, is the stuff on that already in space? I got it.
No, fair question. But yeah, I think Sierra Space is definitely becoming one of those companies that's
Yeah,
super important for the future because I mean, we talked about them I think three different times in the podcast, and they're just innovating and they're
yeah,
partnering with like really big deal companies. So I'm excited to see what they do. But I like that. I
yeah.
like that a
That's
lot.
cool. It's like a space vending machine. It's like, I need this
Yeah,
from space.
yeah. I need a first aid kit. Like that's kind of the future of it.
Yeah,
So very cool. I don't think I have anything else. Let me just
space
scroll
related.
through quickly. Oh, I did, but it's one of those things. It's just like me reading. I don't know if we want that. It's like me reading for two paragraphs. I guess it's a good exercise. Me reading aloud is a good thing, but I do have a point about it as well. Did
Yeah.
you see the new video or the new footage of the Mars Inca cities with the spiders?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is a weird one because I would consider this bad space journalism. They're
Hmm.
doing that sensationalized stuff where they say like something in the headline that's very clickbaity,
Happens all
but
the
when it's
time. Yeah,
when it's scientific, I say gross. I understand
yeah,
if it happens, it's like Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya might be hooking up, and you're like, I don't give a fuck about that. But when it's like space news, I'm like, do not get clickbaity and TMZ with my space news.
I feel like that
But hey,
happens
I'll
with
read
space
it.
and science. Science news. It's
Happened
like
a lot. This was like physics.org too. This is like
oh
not this is something that I was like, these guys have like good reporting.
yeah.
I'm gonna read this, okay?
Yep.
I'm also gonna like dip my headphones a little bit off my ears so I can actually hear my voice. I can like do this. Reading aloud is very challenging for me. Okay, let me try. Okay. All right, so on Mars, they found this what they're calling an Inca city because it looks a bit like Machu Picchu in Peru, like the way it's like it's a structure, you
Okay.
know.
Hmm.
And then for some reason, there's also these like this vast quantity of what they call spiders. It's all nonsense. This is all not what it actually is. So okay, rather than being actual spiders, these small dark features. Also, I want to say before I start, does this sound like Occam's razor to you? If you want to talk about like a scientific hypothesis, does this two very wordy paragraphs about how they explain it sound like Occam's razor to you? I don't know. I think they're just trying to say, well, this is how it could scientifically be explained. I'm
Hmm.
not saying they're wrong. I'm a dummy. I don't know shit about this shit. But I'm saying like I think this is bizarre. This is how they explain the spiders in Inca City on Mars. Okay. Rather than being actual spiders, these small dark features from when spring sunshine falls on layers of carbon dioxide deposited over the dark winter months. The sunlight causes carbon dioxide ice at the bottom layer to turn into gas, which subsequently builds up and breaks through slabs of overlaying ice. The gas bursts free in Martian springtime, dragging dark material up to the surface, and as it goes, the shatters layers of ice up to a meter thick. The emerging gas laden with dark dust shoots up through cracks in the ice in the form of tall fountains or geysers. That makes sense to me. Being before falling back down and settling to the surface. This creates dark spots of between 45 meters or 1 kilometer across. So huge. The same process creates characteristic spider-shaped patterns etched beneath the ice, and these dark spots are a telltale sign that spiders may be lurking but below the ice. Okay, we'll pull up a picture here probably so people can see it, to visualize what we're describing. So you think about this and you're like, okay, so you're looking from very far away and you see all these little black pronged leg things, right?
Hmm.
And people are like, to me, it just looks like giant plants, like desert type, like bush shrubbery. That's how it looks to me. But the way we describe it as spiders in an Inca city, I'm gonna say bad space journalism. Just
Yeah.
saying, like this is nonsense. I understand they're saying this from a great like fact driven thing of this is how it can actually happen. But when you give it names, like especially in a headline, two names that are in quotes,
Right.
immediately I'm like, you're just going for the clicks,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
very clickbaity for sure.
But that explanation is interesting and I understand it. It's like a bunch of old faithfuls that
Hmm.
have like a bunch of, I guess, this dark organic matter that settles back down in these kind of like I said,
And
these little
this is on
prongs.
Mars, you were saying?
It's on
Yeah.
Mars, and it's in this specific place where it looks like Machu Picchu, Peru. But that's also the way they explain that is they said it's most likely sand dunes that have turned to stone over time.
Okay.
So that's why it looks like it's almost engineered, but it's
Yeah.
like it's these walls. It looks actually so much like Machu Picchu. It's interesting.
This sounds very
Um,
similar to when we were discussing a moon in the outer solar system, and I'm trying to remember which moon it was, but there was like these it was snow down and like these little ponds would form, or not ponds, but like these like accumulations. I
yeah,
forget what
I
I
don't.
forget what it was though.
I
I'll have
can't.
to
I can't
rewatch a
recall
previous
either.
episode to remember,
Um,
but the weirdness of it, of
I'll
things
try and
like
yeah, no, I'll try and figure it out for the after show so I can like
yeah,
point to that previous episode because I do recall that conversation.
that's what it reminds
I
me of a
should have
little
stuck
bit.
with chapter notes. I don't think I've done chapter notes for like a month, so maybe it's lost to time. um, yeah, so sorry I just read all that. I just thought it was interesting the way that was their Occam's razor explanation for something very complicated.
Okay.
Um, and I'm looking through. I have nothing else on space or politics, but I do have some AI and tech stuff if you want to like hit
Yeah, we
it.
could do that, and then we'll start the RFK pros and cons. Let's
Okay,
do yeah,
so
let's do your
this
AI.
is a this is a pretty big one, dude. Sora,
Hmm.
the OpenAI video text to video thing that was announced recently, probably a month or two ago. We talked about it. recently there's been a breakdown on how they made some of those videos, and it wasn't just straight up AI. There was some behind the scenes.
Oh, so they
Um, there was visual effects
misleading.
companies that were sort of like, smoothing it out, and also there's inconsistencies in this procedurally generated stuff. So there was a post production done as well to like take out gaps that were like not good for the presentation demonstration. So as of right now, AI, Open AI is like they're really like getting a lot of things wrong recently. Where I'm like, they might be faking it until they make it. Kind of like company. There's a lot of things that have happened, but this newest revelation about how the Sora videos actually came, like, were created, I'm like, I'm trusting it less and less. It seemed too good to be true. Kind of did.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also they've been so hush hush about how those things are made. They say it takes a lot more time. It's not something like you just do a query and it comes up quickly.
Right.
Uh, which that makes sense. Those are very complicated videos. But now that we're learning that they've been edited, post production, and video effects, like houses are coming in to sort of clean it up. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, because there,
very
there already
misleading.
exists the chat to video stuff, and it's just kind of clunky. Theirs was cool because it
Right.
looks so polished, but if they
Right.
they
But that's
fake the
why it was
polish,
polished.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
not very impressive.
Yeah, it changes the whole entire story.
Yeah.
Tell me something techie that's going on that you want to talk about.
I actually didn't really have any tech points to,
Really,
yeah.
I think I have some more. Okay, so here's something I've talked about also on the podcast. I'm very excited for the future of drone deliveries.
Hmm.
Um, well, there's a huge setback. Amazon, probably one of the leaders in this market, right? They just announced they're no longer going to explore drone deliveries in California, one of the biggest states. Also, one of the techiest states,
Yeah.
you know? So that's a pretty bad sign. They were doing a pilot program in a small place called like Langford, California. Something that I looked it up, it had like 3,000 people, a very small place, you
Right.
know? But that's where they first started, and they're just like, maybe we'll look at bigger markets. But also we're just getting out of California. We're not going to do it here. Maybe the FAA is not working with them, but now they're going to Arizona. But to me, that's like concerning because like the future of drone deliveries relies on companies like Amazon and the FAA really like figuring out how this is going to work, right? And when they're giving up on the biggest state, and like I said, one of the most tech-driven states, I'm like,
I
this
wonder
might actually happen,
if
you
it has
know?
something to do with it just being California, and they're kind of known for having like very strict.
It
Sometimes
could be a
they
regulation thing.
over-regulate it where it doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily need
it
to
could
be.
it could be an over-regulation thing, but also it could be that this is just never gonna take off like we hope it will, you know?
Yeah.
It's been something we've talked about, like, or has been in the conversation for so many years. And when they pull out of a large state like that, I'm like, okay, so we're a long ways away. But they're taking it to California, or I'm sorry, Arizona, and we'll see if they do anything meaningful there. But it's looking like drone deliveries, pipe dream. I don't know.
If they have trouble
Guessing.
figuring it out, I say we just have tubes like, banking where they have those little
Yeah,
suction things and we
pneumatic
every
pneumatic tubes.
yeah, every house has their own tube chute. Probably would look weird, I think, on a large scale when you zoom
Yeah,
back. It's like there's all these like tubes going everywhere. Um,
that was in George Orwell's 1984. Actually, the pneumatic tubes.
maybe that's why we don't have that. We don't want to have like a dystopian future.
I think we already
We already
kind of
have it,
do.
yeah.
um, yeah, I don't. Oh, I have one more. I have another one. I have another tech story. This one's actually hilarious. Um, do you know the Amazon Go stores?
Oh, I heard they gave up. Is that, yeah. I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the just walk out technology that was supposed to be AI driven. I think it was NFC driven. It was also a bunch of cameras. Um, it was all kind of fake. Actually, the whole entire program was dependent on thousands of Indian people doing basically like loss prevention work from cameras
Yeah.
and watching specific. So the whole thing was kind of a bit of a scam. Uh, they did a proof of concept with something that they said was going to work a certain way, but actually the way it worked was manpower around the clock. Thousands of people just like being like, I think that guy didn't pay for that.
To me,
It's so crazy.
this actually makes a lot of sense because I don't know, you've been to self-checkouts. Like even
Yeah,
scanning something when the thing's there, sometimes it takes a while. You got to figure out how to orientate it. If they can get that technology to work better before they start going zooming out and trying to do a bunch of stuff, like
yeah,
that just makes sense. Maybe they need to start there with whatever technology they were using that clearly wasn't working. They need to just be like, all right, let's just have it. You have to pass the merchandise through this section, and it gets it every
yeah.
time. No flipping things over. No, you should be able
Right.
to do it real quick. Just shove this stuff through a tube, kind of like we were talking before.
So what I read about the just walk out technology is they're not actually going to like stop doing it. They're going to stop doing it in their Amazon Fresh and Go stores,
Hmm.
but they're going to sell that to other companies. Um, so I don't know what that means because their proof of concept was we're doing it this way, but we're actually using humans. So I don't know what they're selling. Are they selling the idea of having a bunch of like people in India and Pakistan just like monitor like our shopping habits? I don't know what they're selling.
I think they patent something that's like just doesn't work. Maybe they're being patent trolls. Like we'll resell this whenever the
Maybe.
technology's
Maybe.
is fixed.
Um, yeah, I just thought that was such a funny thing that it was like they're like, it was actually just 1,000 Indian dudes
Yeah.
and women.
I did hear about that. I
Um,
should have wrote that down as something to bring up, but yeah. No, thanks for
I wrote it down a couple weeks ago, and then I just like was scrolling through today for like topics,
yeah.
and I was like, how did we never get to that? That's such a funny
Yeah,
one.
I think I heard about that last week sometime. Or it just
Yeah.
popped up on my feed. All right. Did you have anything else for tech and
Not on. I'm looking good here
okay.
on all my topics.
All right. Well, I'm going to lean on you for a lot for this because you have the RFK hoodie and you've read
Yeah.
some of his one book, multiple books from him. I know you've read at least
I've
one.
read multiple parts of both his books.
Okay. Gotcha.
They're not really fun reads. It's very much just like here's what happened, here's how I cite it. It's not really a fun read. It's very dense. But the argument stands. He has no defamation lawsuits for his anti-Fauci book or the Wuhan cover-up or the I don't know. He's just like I don't know. He's good with his resources. It's very lawyerish. Anyways,
Hmm.
I want to say first and foremost, I'm not into him just because he's not Trump or Biden. That's not
Hmm.
that's not my approach. I like him for multiple reasons. I think he's a very smart guy. I
Hmm.
think he's very well spoken. I think he's very sincere.
Hmm.
He's an underdog, which also kind of gets me. But I do want to say, like, I wanted to start it out that way because, like, I don't think that we should give someone that had 4 years to change things, didn't do a great job. I don't want to give them another 4 years. It's like renewing a contract for someone that sort of just basically did the bare minimum. I would say that's with Trump and Biden. I wouldn't say that either of them are going to do anything meaningful if they had 4 more years. It's going to create more division, divisiveness, whatever you want to say. Whereas like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Bobby Kennedy, he's bringing people together in a very interesting and new way. If you ever watch one of his campaign events, it's old people, it's young people, it's Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, and Independents. He's getting a conversation started, which I respect a lot because I'm losing faith in America because I think the two-party system is broken. Also, I think the labels of Republicans and Democrats do not mean what they used to mean.
Yeah.
They've changed so much that I feel like an independent candidate. Or I'm an independent person, so I like the independent candidate. You know,
Right.
policy stuff. It's a little more difficult because he's never
We can only go on what he's said he
he
supports and
what he said
yeah.
he's into. I mean, if you want to think about it this way, though, it's like some people be like, "Well, he's a part of a political dynasty. He's not a politician, right?" Well, I mean, Biden, not part of a political dynasty, but a lifelong politician, who I would say has not done such a great job. And then we had Donald Trump come in, be like this disruptor, not a politician, not do such a great job. So we have both sides of being like evidence for, you know, someone experienced or someone inexperienced. I don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot, right?
Right.
But what I would say with him, with RFK Jr., is like, I believe in him. I believe he's gonna do the things he says. Sometimes it's a little bit he's idealizing things, you know?
Right.
That's one of his weaknesses is he says things like I'm gonna end chronic disease. I'm like, that's a bigger problem than like a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Look,
it sounds great.
it sounds great, but it sounds
But
great
like,
just like
how do you,
I'm
what
gonna
are some
forgive.
policies you want to do to get there? Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Same with like a lot of things he says. I'm just like, I mean, these are wonderful ideas. I don't think anyone in the world is going to say that's a shitty idea, Bobby. I think it's just like, how do we get there? You know, is the problem.
Yeah.
Um,
What are some policies that you agree with, or like one we can go back and forth with, like some of the things we like.
um, he he agrees with me on this that it's not a country with open borders.
Border security.
It's also
Yeah.
costing us a lot of money. It's also if you're actually a humanitarian,
Mhm.
a lot of times having people come here and just hang out in America, but not have work visas, not have like a real way to like sustain themselves, you know, and
Mhm.
get shuffled around, busing to sanctuary city, especially when they have families. I would say that's not a humanitarian approach, you know.
Yeah.
He wants to just close the border and make a legal immigration bigger and better. I'm all for that, you
Yeah.
know.
I'm
Let's
pro
have let's
immigration,
have
but yeah, I
yeah, I'm pro immigration, but let's do it right, you know?
yeah.
Um, that's an important one. Biden has been very against that, you know? He's just sort of like open the borders, 6 million people come in, whatever.
Well, I
Donald
think
Trump,
in the last few months he kind of reversed that a little bit, where he's like trying
a
to,
little bit,
yeah,
but that's more like that's more election year response stuff.
yeah,
I would say from his time in office, he's been very lax on it.
yeah, for sure,
And
yeah.
Donald Trump was a big talker on this, and he did very little. Like I've said, he did less than his predecessor on immigration and the border. So they're both ineffectual candidates. I would say on that, and it's very important. War. Uh, RFK Jr. has been a little bit wrong about his position on Israel. I don't agree with like giving more money, but I do agree with him on Ukraine. Um, and also Taiwan when we get there. So he is more of an anti-war candidate. You
Hmm.
know, I have to give him that, but still, I'm a little bit skeptical of how he wants to handle the Israel situation. Um, war, and also borders. I would say RFK Jr. is way more
Better
passionate about
candidate.
supporting veterans
Oh,
specifically. Right now, it's actually easier to get more like uh, benefits and support from the government as an illegal alien or an asylum seeker or whatever than it is as someone that's a veteran who's used the system up as much as possible and sort of like your benefits are wearing out. But if you come here without a passport or, you know, social security card, you get a lot of help, you know? So I like that he's like people that fought for our country, let's support them.
hmm.
Um, he's also very, very good with like black communities, indigenous people. I think I would say the GOP does not see these people, does not care about these people, and the DNC sees them as votes, and that's it. But they're not really supporting them. Whereas I think RFK Jr. He's out there. He's going to reservations. He's going to black neighborhoods, like impoverished neighborhoods. He's like, I have a plan for how we can fix this. You know,
Hmm.
it's way less pandery than we see from the DNC and the GOP, which I just don't think that's their priority. So I like that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm speaking it so much. I would like to give you a turn.
Some of the pros that I listed on here, I just realized a couple of them are related. Interest rates. He's talked about trying to abolish student loan interest, which I think it was a great idea. Um,
Yeah.
he's also talked about lowering mortgage interest rates for first time. I think he said individuals, and he's also floated like first time homeowners, excuse me, to 3%, which I think is a good policy to have because like I think right now there's a lot
Yeah.
of like big corporations buying up homes and properties, and that's actually contributing a lot to inflation, high rents. They jacked it up during COVID
True.
because they saw, an opportunity. I mean, that's
Right.
that's what their job is to, they're supposed to try to make as much money as they can. So
All right.
I like that. Um, what else? There's something else with colleges and universities making them responsible for loan defaults. I thought that might be a good thing to try to lower,
That's fair.
yeah, lower tuition because they have been jacking up tuition quite a bit.
I agree with all that. I mean, again, that's kind of like the idealist in him, where he's just like anyone that's willing to work hard deserves to own a home,
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Sounds great,
yeah,
but we need a more concrete plan on some things.
right.
Um, and I mean, there's so much stuff, dude, that like he's getting right that I'm just like, I mean, he's the free speech pro privacy candidate. He's gonna pardon Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. He's like, no, no, that didn't damage America. They were reporting, they were being tattletales on the bad stuff that was going on internally.
Yeah,
Why
he's
punish
he's
them? I
publicly said that he would pardon them.
On day one,
That's
both of
awesome.
those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, he's very much like a pro pro freedom. I mean, and also that's another thing. Like, he has a court case with the Biden administration,
Hmm.
because of being censored on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Um, that he won, sort of. He sort of won it. It's a deferred injunction,
Hmm.
so it's a win for now. But also that just means like I guess it's going to continue.
Okay.
Um, so it's not like he just like lost outright. So he's like that's a win because I can continue to fight this. There's some truth to this. I think we can say there's some truth to Biden administration censoring big tech. The Murthy, Missouri Supreme Court case, that's a big one to watch. I think it's going to make or break his legacy and also his chance for maybe getting reelected, which I think is very, very slim. But yeah, I like having a free speech candidate.
Yeah.
Um, who doesn't?
His background's been in environmental law. Is that right? Or what? What
I
was
like
his?
I like that
Yeah.
also because like he's won a ton of huge cases.
Hmm.
He's actually very good at what he does. He does get in the weeds with some conspiratorial stuff.
Yeah, we could save that for
I'm
the
not,
cons when if we go over just a brief list of like maybe things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, like I want to have an environmentalist, like for real,
Yeah.
not like a Green Party candidate, like who's not really like built for the job. I think he's built for the job, and I think he actually cares. I really believe him. I
Right.
trust him on a lot of things. You know.
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, I don't know. I said a lot of things.
I think he's also
uh,
pro like union, like organized labor, from what I saw on his website.
I I don't actually know about that, but that
I,
sounds
s- I,
consistent with
I
his
think
belief
when I was looking
system.
over their website, I remember
Yeah.
seeing that.
Uh, yeah, I'll look that up for sure. Here's another one that's sort of just personal to me. It's probably not going to reach a lot of other people.
Mhm.
He wants to expand AmeriCorps, which is a program that I've worked with in the past because I worked with United Way
Mhm.
a lot of volunteer work, and that changed my life, dude. That changed me as a person. Is being like being a part of something like that, where you're just like you actually want to help people, you actually care about people,
Mhm.
not just like in a speech, but actually like policy. Like I liked it a lot. AmeriCorps. Hey mom, if you're listening, I don't know if my mom still listens, but she might have like lost interest
It-
at this point.
And
Hey
we're
mom,
like probably 50 minutes in now.
Yeah, Mom, if you still listen to this, I know you probably didn't know that, but RFK Jr. is all about AmeriCorps. She'll get that. She'll love that. Also, I love you. I'm glad you're out of the hospital. um, yeah, I don't know. I would say like I would rather take a chance, on someone that's gonna break the two-party system.
Right.
I think that's something that's very dangerous. Actually, for democracy, is a two-party system that's getting like way, way further from the labels that define the two parties, and also just like being scared of losing power, and losing
I
your
think, yeah, I
position
think
by having independence.
the two parties already have way too much power. I think it makes the voters lazy personally, because like I feel like I learned
Yeah,
that from our political posts that we like the comment section has just kind of confirmed that it's like I don't think that they
yeah,
actually have any substance to the people that disagree. There was a couple, but like most of the time when I see a comment and I'm looking at it, I'm like they didn't all they said is like I don't like that candidate instead of like saying what
right,
they didn't
right.
provide any specifics. I think yeah, it makes people
Most
lazy.
most people regurgitate the stuff they've heard that like in their echo chamber,
Yeah, from Ben
in
Carson,
their
from their
in their entrenched viewpoints. They just like repeat the same stuff.
hmm
That's why I think Bobby Kennedy Jr. is like authentic. Like he has perspective that I'm just like I'm excited about this,
right.
Like I'm excited about what he's saying. I'm excited about the possibility of like breaking free from because like I mean the one person that we talked about who left a comment saying change the name from the Far Left Lane podcast to a Centrist podcast. I was like, that's kind of what I think we both want to be. We want to be very fair and balanced for real, but then have our own opinions, right?
Yeah, there's
I
there's
think,
things that I have that are more libertarian. There's things that are also very progressive that I have a
yeah,
lot of things that are people would say that's very far left. But I'm also
Lane,
yeah, very far left wing,
yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, no, that this is why I really really want him to get a fair shot. I want to see him at the primary debate. I think there's probably going to be a little bit of you know, I don't
I
know,
won't hold my breath
bullshit
that it'll
going
happen,
on.
but I would like to see that also.
I would love to see three people, three like I mean, that's the thing though, is like Biden would definitely be at the bottom of that. It'd be like RFK Jr., he doesn't really talk about anything unless he's like read multiple books on it. Like
hmm
when he speaks up about something on he actually got a really great interview on CNN. It was the first time he was on Aaron Burnett's show. It was the first time he was invited on CNN in 10 years
How
because there's
recently
like we
was
don't want to
this?
give this maybe a month or two ago,
Okay.
month and a half for sure.
hmm
And it was a half-hour interview where she just gave him a lot of time to speak. First time in 10 years that he's been invited on there. It's pretty crazy.
Is her
Um,
CNN show still out front? Is that what she
I think it
Aaron
might
Burnett?
be.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things never change.
Um,
That's been going on for a long time.
yeah, yeah. She's been around for like 20 years,
Yeah, it's
maybe.
been a long time.
Wow. Yeah. I like her though. I also like Michael Smerconish. Um, I like the people that sometimes give people a platform where they're like, I don't think I agree with you, but I want to understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. So let's talk about it,
I
And that's another thing I really like about Bobby Kennedy Jr. is like he's able to do long form interviews. He'll do a 3 hour interview and he just like stays on message, gives a lot of interesting details that I'm like, wow, I've never heard. Like he's not like he doesn't have canned responses unless he talks about his voice. That's the one thing where he's very repetitive.
Oh,
And
really?
he's like, whenever someone's like, so can you explain for first time viewer why you speak the way you speak? And he's like, I'm not gonna do the
Don't do the
impression.
impression.
I was about to do the impression. No, no. It's and also I don't think he would mind it because it's not like making fun. It's just accuracy.
Yeah.
I'll do bad Biden and Trump impressions. I was gonna keep it like fair play.
All right.
Just saying like there's some things about him, that I'm not on board with. Like he said some things that I'm just like I said, I think previously, I think I'm 80-20 RFK Jr.
Right.
80% in, 20% like that concerns me, dude.
Right. Let's talk about
But
some of
those are
those real quick. We'll get them out of the way.
um I mean some of it's pretty dark, dude. The suicide of his first wife, that's some Kennedy sketchy scandal shit. I have no idea what's going on there. That's weird. the way he does describe his voice as a neurological thing, and also as a brain injury, and also as like something that he's had this titanium bridge to connect his vocal cords, so he doesn't. It's called spasmodic dis spasmodic something with a D. It's not dysmorphia.
I'm trying to think, why would he lie though about that? About
That's the thing is like because he describes it as an injury, but also a neurological thing, which would be something that wouldn't be considered an injury. It would just happen, right? So like a stroke, something like that, something out of your control. An injury is something more like I don't know what did he do? What happened there?
mm,
You
okay.
know, it's so strange. But also what I'm saying, the point being, he is so authentic. When he speaks, Kevin, dude, he just like goes off for hours saying all kinds of things that he's like is very like knowledgeable about or believes in.
Mhm.
But whenever he talks about someone's like, what's up with your voice? He's like, when I was in my 30s, I had an unusually strong voice. This is the same stump speech he does every time. I think that's a weird thing to do, especially a defining feature like that, right?
Maybe he's just
There's
said it
something
so
about
many times. It's like,
maybe, but I'm just sort of like
yeah,
I'm like, what caused it, man?
yeah.
And also, there's some part of me that's like the Kennedys. They're kind of horn dogs, historically.
Hmm.
And when his wife killed herself, she wrote in her diary, she's like, Bobby cheated on me, and it broke my heart, and she hung herself on a tree.
Jeez,
It's pretty
that's
pretty
very
dark,
dark.
dude. You know? So it's like, I don't know, there's things like that that I'm just like, yeah, he still got some of the Kennedy darkness in him, right? Um, some of that scandalous stuff, but like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I do trust him on his path for him. Also, the Epstein list. That's a huge one. He was on the Epstein list. That's a big red flag, you know?
yeah. There's a lot of people on that list. Tons of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for
Not
sure.
trying to
I mean,
downplay it. I'm just saying there was a lot of
no,
celebrities on
no,
that
no.
list.
That's a fair assessment. It's like there's a lot of people that were used
Wasn't his
in
family
that
on there
whatever
too? His
whatever
family was
his
also on the
his
list.
his
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 whole,
first wife and also his kids. Yeah, it
yeah.
was the whole family. Which I guess does change it, but also at the same time, it's like his wife, the one that
Hmm.
killed herself. She was the connection. She was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was the one that got them on the private plane.
Whoa, yeah, this complicates the
Isn't that crazy? And then what I'm saying, there's some scandal going on there for sure. And I hate it. It's so dark and creepy.
yeah,
But I don't know. I just don't really see like. Then again, you see like he's married to Cheryl Hines, Larry David's wife from Curb Your Enthusiasm,
right.
and that whole thing happened because he's very much in like the comedy Hollywood scene. He's best buds with many like prolific comedians
Hmm.
and actors, comedic actors. So Larry David was like, "Hey Bobby, I know someone you should meet. You should meet my on-camera wife, Cheryl Hines. I think you guys would enjoy each other." And then they went on a date, fell in love, got married. I'm like, so I don't know. He is like a foot in and out of like mainstream stuff and then also being like this underdog kind of like long shot candidate. It's so interesting the story, but I don't know. I'm choosing to trust him over
Right.
the two previous presidents who I thought did kind of a poor job.
Yeah. So I had some cons I wrote down. And I would like feel free to elaborate if you know more about it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like this is stuff
for
that I've
sure.
heard online, a couple of sources that I read, and from podcasts. So he thinks that Wi-Fi 5G causes cancer.
His 5G take is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I've done deeper dives on this as well because like he said, I've read the medical literature
Yeah.
and there is a connection with these different types of frequencies in the blood brain barrier. I read it. I thought it seemed like a lot of kind of like. Then again, I'm not a professional on
Yeah.
anything, right? But what I'm saying is, from my very dumb perspective, I read it and I said, "This sounds hypothetical as fuck," you know.
Yeah. Well, from my
But
understanding, radio
he,
waves, it's a very, very low frequency. It's like nothing like the
right,
sun. Like going outside, you're
right,
bombarded with way more radiation. Um,
right. or going to the dentist, getting
Yeah.
a CAT
And
scan,
I
getting
feel
an
like radio waves
MRI.
have been around for so long. Like we
5G was just such a huge advancement, that he
It's
was
actually
like,
less.
let
Oh, yeah, you're saying 5G. I think the frequency is less than on some of the newer stuff, the newer 5G than previous
yeah,
ones. Like, because you have to have like cell towers that are like
right.
closer. I don't know. I
No,
might
Kevin,
be.
I
I might
I,
have this off
I
too.
t- Kevin, I totally agree with you on this one. When I first heard him speak about this, I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds dumb to me,
Yeah.
you know? And he doesn't usually sound dumb to me.
Right.
A lot of times I'm like, he's so like well researched, well spoken, and then when he says something like that, it's jarring. I'm like, wow,
Yeah. I sometimes worried
you
he's
sound like you read that on Facebook,
right.
and you just like
It kind of sounds
regurgitated it.
like, somebody that reads it on Facebook. It's like some
Yeah.
unreliable website.
Ooh, can we put a pause in this? That's a good segue.
Yeah.
I have a good segue. So Aaron Sorkin is just wrote a script for the Network 2, sequel to the Social Network.
What what would it be about? The same thing?
Well, no, it's an ongoing story though, like Mark
Just
Zuckerberg and
market.
like the whole, but
Hopefully they do
also,
smoking these
it,
meats. They do a little.
I don't think that'll be a part of it. Aaron Sorkin actually has this very insane perspective and stance on the insurrection on January 6th. He says, I don't really blame the president or even the people. He said Facebook did that. That was a Facebook thing.
Mm.
So he's making the whole script about the January 6th leading up to that, like, and the Facebook being like part of the whole, like, I don't
Oh
know,
wow. Yeah,
insurrection.
that'll be interesting.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
would love to see that movie. Yeah. Anyways, I hate to interrupt, but I was like, oh, Facebook. Yeah, I got to say that.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I'm saying, Kevin, I think that's warranted what you just said. Like that's a weird perspective he has, right? And also, I think the fact that his VP, Nicole Shanahan, also sort of seems to buy into that. I'm like, huh.
She buys into that too about 5G.
Yeah, she's also into that idea. I'm like, why? They're both like they're not dummies, and also she has
You can be
billions of
intelligent. You
dollars.
can be intelligent and have bad takes on things. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, I
I
know,
know it
but it's
doesn't
just so
seem
weird that like
usually.
people that like I feel like are have the resources, and the interest to like do a deep dive into something, and they still come out on the other end being like, yeah, there's something to it. I'm like, that judgment is bad. That's bad judgment.
Yeah.
And also here's another example of bad judgment. Um, no, that's actually not relevant to this.
I
I was going to talk about an X talk, but that's really more an Elon problem that it was an RFK Jr. problem. Sorry.
I
Go ahead.
have another one that's sort of related. He's apparently said stuff about there's man-made chemicals in drinking water contributing to gender confusion. This sounds
That sounds
very
like
Alex. It
that sounds like Alex
sounds
Jones.
very Alex Jones. And I was like,
Yeah, it sounds.
this was in a June 2022 episode of Jordan Peterson's podcast. Apparently,
Yeah,
he said it causes gender confusion, sexual confusion, basically saying that it'll makes you trans, I guess. Um,
yeah, yeah. There is some interesting. Okay, there's some interesting research about this about PFAS in water that that I think we've all heard about this. If anyone here listens to the Joe Rogan podcast, you've heard about it. But there is actually a connection between PFAS in water and shrinking the taint of men.
yeah. I've heard that.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
microplastics.
There's something true to this, but the fact that he's repeating it when it's like such early research and it sounds very conspiratorial, it's very Alex
It's
Jones. I
very
don't
Alex
like that about
Jones.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He has some
Same,
other
same with
stuff with the vaccines causing autism, MMR vaccine.
right,
Is
right, right.
I think
And
that's
also,
dangerous
yeah,
personally. Measles, it was
Nicole
eradicated.
Shanahan, his VP, she's all into that too because like her daughter is highly autistic, and she's like, I think he's right about some stuff.
See, the
There's
autistic thing, I actually think we're diagnosing it a lot more than we used to. I think that's part of it. I don't know if
But also, Kevin, would you say that it's a broader
It's
diagnosis than
become
it
it's
used to be.
become way broader. That's right. But I think
Right,
also it
right.
wasn't when we realized it was a spectrum. Some people have it more. Some people, almost probably all of us, have a little bit of it. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
if it's a
been
spectrum,
yeah,
we're all on it.
right.
Now, I think I'm like 15%. I don't like self-diagnoses, but I'm saying I'm definitely like 15% because I'm kind of weird.
You took one of
Like,
those little
um,
self-assessments.
yeah, I took a BuzzFeed test. I'm 15%. No, I'm kidding. I've never done that.
Yeah,
I also don't believe in self-diagnosis.
yeah,
But no, I'm saying like yeah, there's a lot of things he says like this, and also his VP that I'm just like not on board
yeah.
with, right? But I wouldn't say those are the things that define them.
Right,
I think the
right.
things that define them are the things that I said started with that I'm like, this is how we can actually maybe fix or save America, possibly.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think that Trump would be healthy for this country because remember how bad the conversation was back then when like it was so split, dude. It was like it's crazy. And then I don't know. I just don't like how Joe Biden's kind of doing things or letting people do things.
yeah. Dude,
That's.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go. I was gonna talk about the Secret Service protection, but I've talked about it a bunch. So, like, I'll say it quickly. So, RFK Jr. is that this is almost the proof I need in my head to say that Joe Biden's actually not making decisions is the fact that he has not granted me Secret Service protection because
Mm,
like our families are very close. He reveres my father. It's the bust he has right behind him in the Oval Office. He's like, I cannot possibly believe that he would not do this unless he was not calling the shots on this. Um,
yeah, that
and that
sounds petty.
uh, Alejandro Mayorkas, who was getting impeached, you know the guy that was actually signing the the official letter saying, "No, we're not going to give you Secret Service protection yet." That guy, I guess they just like threw out his impeachment um,
Really?
uh, case, so he's going to stay in position in the Department of Homeland Security, and I guess probably that means Bobby's not going to get it.
Gotcha.
Also, I don't think he's going to get the invite to the primary debate. I really don't
I
think
hope they're
so. I think
fair
they're going to
and they
block
do
him.
it based on polling, and I'm sure he'll make it with polling for a third party candidate because I think,
Well, based off polling right now, I think he should
yeah,
have Secret Service protection, and also he should be
in the
invited to
debates. Yeah.
the conversation. But that's just not happening,
They should make it
We'll,
happen, but yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it would be very, very interesting. Um,
So
yeah,
I
fast.
I only have one more con as a bullet point, and
Okay.
it's kind of related to everything we brought up. Some of the kind of wacky things. Um, he thinks antidepressants cause school shootings.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
Is he saying antidepressants or is he saying benzos or
I think
what's
he kept it kind
the
of vague in the interview.
it's no, it's
SSRIs.
SSRIs. I think
Yeah.
I've heard of yeah, I think I've heard about this before. Not from him, but from other people.
Yeah. To me
Um
that's kind of a wacky take. I understand.
that's so
Yeah.
broad. If you just like want to make it like that, no, that's so broad. Also, like it's not even like consistent with real data that's
Yeah.
happened recently. A lot of times recently it's been people that have been not ignoring their mental
Yeah.
health, you know?
Yeah. All my cons are kind of related to that little it's like one little thing that where you just kind of have some like weird
Yeah,
wacky
yeah.
stances on
His
things
his
that I'm like
conspiratorial shit. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a fan of like things that kind of sound like Alex Jones, but I think we went over a lot of pros that I also agree with on him. So,
Yeah, I'm saying the things that really define him, I'm all in on.
right.
The things that like I say like sketch me out, whatever, I'm like we'll figure out more, if he becomes like a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But there's definitely things. I'm not saying like I think that's actually delusional to be all in on a candidate.
Oh yeah.
If you're just like
Yeah.
this is my guy. I'm like, no, no, no. I have reasons. I said like we did it. We did it. We did the good and the bad with Trump and Biden. that was tough for me to like say positives about them and negatives about them,
Yeah, it was tough for me
but
too.
it's like,
It's
but
a
with,
good
yeah, with the
exercise. I
guy
think
that,
everyone should do it.
yeah, I think it is. It's really, and also
Hey,
the people that just checked into little clips, they're like, oh, you guys are just like one side. I'm sad that they didn't really get a big picture
yeah,
of what we're trying to do here, you know? But that's fine. That's fine. They're not far left leaners, you know?
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, dude, I am going to support this candidate just because, like I said, you know, the other guys, they had their chance.
Hmm.
And let's expand. You know, let's get out of this fucking two-party system. It's insane to me. Literally, dude, I mean, I could see myself being an expat, like going to somewhere else just because I feel like what we're doing here is a waste of time. And also that's another thing. Um Bobby Kennedy Jr. has this policy that seems probably unlikely, but it's something about executive orders in like kind of a revolving door of executive orders where he's like, let's do a 5-year moratorium on things so that when a person gets in office, they can't immediately just be like, yeah, let's stop that shit. Let's turn it around. So it's like a 5-year moratorium on specific executive orders where it's like, all right, think about it for a year, improve on it, and then make it your policy. Don't just do it because you want to be petty about the predecessor, you know?
Hmm. So
I
5-year
understand.
moratorium on executive. Got it.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea. I think it actually should be a 6-year. Maybe like make it like about the midterm elections where you can turn something around.
Hmm.
Policy that's like gonna actually make a big difference. But no, he's starting with 5-year. 5-year. I'm like, okay,
That
that
seems
makes a lot of
reasonable. Yeah.
sense. Otherwise, it is just like it's Trump gets into office and he's like,
I'm undoing every executive order you did. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's so ineffective. It's such a waste of our time and also taxpayer money. I mean, like, it's a huge waste of time
Yeah.
and money.
All right.
I don't
Well,
know.
to close the RFK, um, I think it. I think there's a lot of pros. I think it's good that he takes from both Biden and Trump. I think he's onto something there because I feel like that's the way it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
There should be some common ground where you can get voters from both sides. So
yeah. And if not, then you're doing something wrong.
yeah.
You know, he said the Biden family has been lifelong friends to my family, and he's also said I kind of like that Trump acknowledges me and my ideas. You
Yeah.
know, he's like, and people were like saying that like they're like, oh, you're just like a Trump supporter secretly, or you're just like I don't know. No, that's not fair. To say that he's gonna steal votes from either side, he's made it very clear. He's a spoiler for everyone. He's a spoiler for big ag, big pharma, big
Big cheese.
what do you want to what big cheese? Yeah. Big podcasts, no big fracking, all the things that are like big
Yeah.
deals. He's like, I'm gonna spoil both sides of the like political aisle. I'm gonna work with both sides, and also big everything can fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, of course, but yeah, I do think he's one of the most like exciting candidates in my lifetime. You know,
Yeah.
not perfect,
Right.
but
But nobody is.
but no one is. But yeah, better than just getting someone who's already had a chance and done an okay to poor job. You know,
All right.
damn dude.
So 2 weeks ago we pulled Moana as a discussion topic. So let's get this out of the way real fast before we do a Snark Tank bit.
Oh
Um,
wow. Yeah.
let's talk about Moana.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah.
there's a sequel coming out this fall. Moana 2. Um,
November.
yeah.
Dude, November. I'm excited for it because I love the first Moana. It's like one of my favorite modern Disney CGI
Yeah.
movies, you know?
I was talking to Jessie and she reminded me that was actually Marley's first movie that we took her to see in theaters. She was real little. She was barely
She didn't
3.
remember it.
She's seen it since then multiple times because I think we own it,
Oh.
um, or at least we stream it. I probably had the Blu-ray back then. Um, but yeah, it's got catchy music. Hopefully the second one's
Yeah.
also good. They're making a live action movie
Even
too, I think next year or
That's that's so no, that's like 2026. That's so weird to me because like it's only 10 years later from the first film. Like, is that necessary? No.
well, yeah, probably all their live action remakes. Sometimes I don't think any of them are necessary.
I
You
kind
know,
of like the Aladdin one. I
I
did.
don't think I've seen any of the live action. I didn't see
It was
Lion
Guy Ritchie,
King.
dude. It was so weird. Lion King was bad. Um,
Donald
it was.
Glover was the voice on one of was it Simba or something or wasn't Donald Glover in
Oh
that?
yeah, he was young Simba. I forgot
That was
about
the only
that.
reason
Yeah,
why
yeah, you're right.
I thought about watching it, but I never did. I was like, oh, I might watch it for that.
I totally forgot that. Yeah, no, I saw it in theaters and it didn't affect me at all. I remember seeing like other live action Disney stuff in theaters where I was like crying like a little baby. Like the Christopher Robin movie. Holy cow, dude.
Wow.
That was emotional. Aladdin, it was sort of just like, I don't know, visually very cool, but
Yeah.
anyway, Moana, much love for that movie. Also, I want to say to the viewer, or listener, look up the Grammys from whatever time Moana came out, where the girl that
I think
sings
it's
the songs
2014, 2015, 2015.
sounds about
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. The girl that's like the singer, she did like a live performance. She looks like Moana. It's insane, dude. She should be the person in the live action one
Oh,
because
yeah.
she's got the voice and the look. Oh, it's such an awesome performance at the Academy Awards, the Grammys,
They
whatever.
should do Chevy
Um,
Chase singing "You're Welcome." That would make sense
that'd be really funny, dude. If they did that at like the
instead of
Emmys, like
instead of The
a
Rock.
community reunion. All right, let's get a new
Uh,
topic for next week. Sorry for the Moana fans that were hoping we do a deeper dive, but
that's the best.
how much
That's the
else
best
can we
I could
say
do.
about
I feel like we're.
it?
I
Yeah,
feel like we went above and beyond on that.
I would love to get something from here that we can turn into a bracket or a tier
Oh,
list.
I have another idea. If we don't have a good one, I have an idea that I was going to bring up to you.
Okay.
We
I,
can
I
still discuss
I
it.
just I just cheated, dude. I looked at it as I was pulling it out. I gotta
You don't
pull it
want
away
another
from me.
Moana.
No, I don't. I want to get a good one. Okay, let's go with this one. I got a good feeling about this one. Um. Okay, we could talk about this. It's unsolved mysteries.
Okay. Like the
So
TV show.
we could think about something like, I don't know, the Malaysian plane disappearance. We could talk about like what are the things like the lights on the moon Circes, like things like that. We could talk about any
Sure.
unsolved
Yeah, we could
mystery.
think of it. Let me tell you my bracket idea or tier list idea.
Okay.
Um, I was thinking we could like have all Donald Trump's nicknames that he's made for people, for organizations, like list them out, be like, which is our favorite? Because like he comes up with
That's
the
fun, dude.
funniest names.
I like that a lot, actually. I like that a lot.
Sleepy
Can we
Joe,
do
Crooked
that? And then
Hillary, Meatball Ron.
okay, let's think about a couple unsolved mysteries that we both like are like, ooh, I've read about that and never heard kind of a proper explanation what that
I
was.
kind of
We
just
could
want
do
to
that as
talk
a
about the
conversation.
music, how the music from the TV show is so good.
Was it?
And then they had that cool
Oh,
like
I forgot
arpeggio
about
part
that.
to it.
Yeah.
Like I will probably get
It
copyrighted
sounds
for that. Um,
yeah, it sounds like Stranger Things ish. No, we'll figure it out. But I like that idea. That's a great bracket, dude. Or maybe a pyramid. We can do a pyramid. We'll see.
yeah.
All right, man.
Um, Snark Tank to close us out. Take us home.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I'll do a couple. I'll do. How about I do two?
Sure.
I had four, but I'll do two. I'll save some for
That's
later.
fine. Yeah.
We're
We're
going
actually an hour
kind
and
of long.
20. Yeah. This might be our
Yeah.
longest
Okay.
episode
So
yet.
wow, dude. No one's gonna watch it. All right, Snark. How you doing today, Snark?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Looking good, dude. I like it. So here's my first company. Um, it's called Bouncy Homes. Okay.
Okay.
So here's my plan. I really want to get all Americans, hardworking Americans, into the bouncy home of their dreams. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm looking for $1 billion for 12.5% of my company.
What justifies this high valuation?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are looking for homes, right?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of different options, right? We don't just like get people into bouncy houses. It's bouncy homes, you know. These are for families, right?
Your forever
Okay,
bouncy home.
so but also it's not just about like maybe your dream home. That's the goal. The bouncy home of your dreams. That's our goal. But no, like maybe you want to get like into your starter bouncy home. We have those for you, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you want to have a like a very minimalistic, low profile life. We have tiny bouncy homes for you, you know? Maybe you want to put in 10% and just share it with your family. We have timeshare bouncy homes for you. We have everything you need. Lease options so you can rent to own a bouncy home. Why pay $500 a day, dude, when you can just like own that shit,
Are
you
people
know?
are people bouncing in these homes or are they living in these homes?
They're bouncy houses that you basically rent to own. So yeah, they're
Okay.
bouncy houses,
Okay.
but we're saying we want to make them better. We want to make America better, so they're bouncy homes, not houses.
Gotcha. Okay, I am very interested in this idea. I think this could be a good
Okay,
way to fight inflation. I don't want the bouncy home part. I'm actually thinking of an inflatable home as a way to cheap housing.
that's what it is. Yeah, we can put these things up like hundreds of them in a day. You just need a big
We
giant
could sell these to the
inflator.
government, have them put them up by the border, help with the
We also have bouncy FEMA homes. So if there's ever like a disaster, we can get a bunch of these things blown up pretty quickly. So
yeah.
we can work with the government.
I'm very interested. You got yourself a deal.
Heck
You're
yeah,
sold.
dude. All right, bounce. So let's just make that the mission statement. Let's find Americans that are hardworking, the bouncy homes of their dreams.
I love it.
Okay, next company, very different. But you know what? Snark. You're very like open-minded, so I like that. This is a dating app. It's called Yes Means Yes. So what we're doing is we're looking for people that want to match. And guess what? We have the only dating app in the market that guarantees you'll find a match. No one else does that.
Or what? You guarantee it or your money back?
No, no, sure, if you want it, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you're just gonna like pay for it.
Hmm.
You'll be like, "Oh, I found a match," and you're cool. No one's asked us for their money back yet, because we guarantee you'll find a match, dude. With Yes Means Yes dating app. So here's how it works. Most dating apps. Let me get my phone for example. Okay, so most dating apps work this way. You go, "Nah, that person's ugly." Pop, swipe to the left.
Hmm.
"Nah, that person's fat." Pop, swipe him to the left. "That person's unemployed." Swipe to the left. Our dating app has a very interesting, kind of almost gaming mechanic where you can only swipe right, so you can only match people, right?
Yes.
No, no, this don't laugh, Snark. This guarantees that you find a partner because everyone is only swiping right on each other. It's part of the system. If you swipe left, it deletes the app and then you lose your money. So you can only swipe right on people, right? It's a positive, safe space where you are guaranteed to find the love of your life. There's no
Okay.
obligation that you meet the person in real life. Maybe you swipe right on, and you're like, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And then you could just say, all right, well, hey, we could just be buds. You know,
I,
you don't have to,
I
you don't
take
have
it
to.
a lot of people getting friend zoned, ghosted in this.
No, 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 no. No, it's a positive, safe space where everyone matches up. It's not Snark. You need to get your mind out of the gutter. It's not like that, dude. So here's the deal. I'm gonna look for $1 million because I think it's $1 million idea, and I'm gonna give you 7%, which I know is way too much money, but 7% for $1 million. What do you think, dude? You liking it? Swipe right, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right on my
I think I'm
business.
gonna
Come on,
swipe
dude.
left, but I am down with the inflatable homes.
So you don't want people to fall in love? Are you anti-love?
Yes, I'm pro money.
Okay, so you're like Kevin O'Leary.
Like,
What if we do a what if we do a perpetuity deal and I could say we could swipe right forever, dude. You'll keep making money.
do I
Swipe
get a
right, swipe.
percentage for each swipe?
Yeah, you get a name your percentage. I got to pee so bad. Let's just name a percentage so we can like end this
50%.
episode,
All right,
dude.
we're done.